If you've been playing D&D for years now, or even for a few months, it doesn't take long before you recognize the power of a certain phrase. The phrase, roll initiative. When a DM says that, it can set you off on this certain mode, and your heart starts beating faster, and you're ready to get stuff done. And that's awesome. That's actually a really cool moment. But there's actually a lot of other ways that games start or initiate combat, and today we're going to talk about that. Hi, I'm Timothy, and I've been making games of various kinds for 20 years. So in this channel, we actually talk about the mechanics of various games, and the goal is that coming out of this video and any other video, that your knowledge of the different game systems expands just a little bit so that you can find the right system for you. And if you're a newbie, if you've never played any of these TTRPGs, you barely know what it is, this is actually a perfect place to start, because I also make videos to help people find out how to play and find the simplest ones, or even the ones that are well worth pouring through pages and pages of rules for. So I'm here, I'm your guide, but I have biases. I have my preferences, and so please leave comments, help each other out. This is a community. It's not just me talking to you, even though these videos are. It's really me taking your feedback, looking through the comments, and together we're going to make this TTRPG space even easier to get into and easier to find the right people and the right game to come together and build community and really just make amazing stories and experiences that are memorable. And honestly, that's where some of my best friends come from. My best friends are people I just played TTRPGs with. I role-played with in various ways, different kinds of systems, and they make for great communities. So let's get into it. Okay, for starters, we're going to break down combat initiation into 3 different types. There's going to be 3 different types, and the first type is what everybody's most familiar with, and that is initiative or turn order. And that is going to be something where at some point, there's a certain point when the game that you're playing shifts, and it's like we entered a new mini game, and maybe all the skills are still applicable at any time, but we've joined this new version of the game where suddenly all these mechanics have extra meaning, or even maybe they weren't even possible prior. So that is what D&D falls into. The second category is going to be any system that there is no initiative or turn order or entering combat at all. It's where combat is just another portion of the game that is completely just like everything else, where you have a conversation with a guard, you fight the guard, and there is no transition. There is no noticeable change in how the game is being played. The third option is actually going to be a game where maybe there's a start and you notice a significant change, and we are now in combat mode, but it isn't a turn-ordered system. Maybe the mechanics change and the rules change, but there isn't a moment where, okay, we're going to find out who goes first, okay, you go, and then now you go, and then now you go. And instead, it's just we are in a new world, a new way of existing, but it's not actually turn order. There's actually it's a spectrum. There's actually a lot of variations. There might be games that are just very slightly different when you're in combat, or there might be games where you are in combat and then you're kind of out of combat, but you kind of, get back into it a little bit, and it has a lot more flow back and forth, but there's still a distinct difference. It's just the bouncing back and forth is so much more smooth than maybe other games might be. Okay, let's look at some examples. Okay, so first off, with the first one, D&D, perfect example. You are perfectly able to swing your sword at any time in the game, but when the DM says, let's roll for initiative, the game has shifted. There is now something very distinct happening. That is rules as written. Obviously, a lot of people actually homebrew and make their variations on it. There is quite a few variations on D&D in particular because of how popular it is and how few people have actually played another system who play D&D. So they make D&D do whatever they want D&D to do. And D&D is probably the most homebrewed game or the most customized game out there. That doesn't make it the best game for customizing. It just means that people didn't know there was another option. So that's hopefully what this channel will continue to help with. The second example I'm going to give is for a game where there is no noticeable difference between combat and not combat. And for that, I'm going to talk about Monster of the Week. Or really, there's a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse games, which is like a category of TTRPGs that fall into this, but not all. And in Monster of the Week in particular, combat is really not any different than the rest of the game. You just say, I want to do that, and then the next person says, I want to do that, and you just go around and tell the GM what you want to do, and the GM just does things as well. And it's just kind of this seamless flow that doesn't change when you're fighting or when anything is happening. You just do your thing. And Monster of the Week, it is also a very narrative and rules light game, so it fits right in with, there's not actually that much rolling to go that goes on in the first place. You don't have a lot of very specific abilities. You have like maybe a couple specific things, but there's not actually too much going on mechanically, and it's a lot more just collaborative storytelling. An example of the third option is actually the game I've been working on for about a year now, and it's in closed beta, but feel free to drop a comment if you're interested in testing it out. I say closed beta, but I'm very open. I'm looking for anybody who will be willing to play test it. But that in this game, Shadow Ray is what it's called. We actually have a fluid combat system, and it's not maybe as fluid as it could be, but in Shadow Ray, whoever decides to initiate combat can just make an action, and the action happens, and then the entire team of that player or monster, whoever initiated, is allowed to just make an action. And then in response, the other team gets to respond and make an action. And there's just kind of like, you just did a thing. But after that, then you roll for turn order, and you roll a reflexes skill and go into turn order. And that is kind of a way of making it so that there is a smooth transition into combat. So it's not like, oh no, I wanted to start that. I wanted to kill something first. I'm not sure, am I allowed to do that? Do we have to wait until my turn? Are we rolling initiative before I said that or after I said that? There's always this smoother transition of whoever instigated the first violence just instigates the first violence. And then the other team gets to reciprocate, and then we go into turn order and see how things continue. So that's really the three main ways. There's a million variations of those, but those are the three main ways that combat can be instigated or started. And just let me know in the comments if there's like something you think I missed. Maybe there's a whole nother category, or maybe if you want to just talk about the intricacies of specific systems. I definitely want to look into that. This is something that we can keep talking about in the comments, and maybe I'll even make another video about it after you bring up some great points that I just hadn't even thought of. Please like and subscribe. This is a completely new channel. This is one of the first videos, so anything you can do to help get this out to people will really help the community, help us get together and really make the TTRPG space easier to access for everybody. For veterans who've been playing D&D maybe for too long and they're ready to try something new, or for just those people who have always kind of liked the idea of it but have never gotten a chance or never found a group. Together we can make it more accessible and more fun, and in particular, maybe we can make GMing more accessible. That's what I'm going to talk about soon. See you next time.